But let's start with France, which is in a bit of a mess. In the next few hours, it's widely assumed the man who's been Prime Minister for the last 9 months will be out of a job. François Bayrou, a 74-year-old political veteran put in place by President Emmanuel Macron to find a way out of a years-long crisis, is instead about to be consumed by it, when he almost certainly loses a vote of confidence in the country's parliament. The Eurozone's second biggest economy is mired in debt, 114% of its annual economic output. And the Prime Minister has introduced an austerity budget aimed to slash government spending by 44 billion euros. But he doesn't have the votes to get it through. Monsieur Bayrou has been addressing the members of Parliament in the past hour, and he appealed for them to back his moves to improve his country's financial standing. Excessive debt, he said, was life-threatening for France. His words have been voiced by an interpreter.
We spend, but we never come back. We never tighten the rope. The ordinary expenditures of our nation, for the public services, for the pensions, for the welfare of our nation, we keep on spending it by borrowing more and more credit to put the balance back to zero when we had to credit more, just like every family, every company, and we keep on borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. 3,415 billion euros of debt at the time that I am speaking to you right now.
François Bayrou, but MPs are set now to vote against him, and in that case he will resign. So what happens next, and what will this do to France's economic confidence? The France-based journalist Jamie Smith-Maillet has been talking to business owners in the Loire Valley, and he sent us this report.
There is one word that's been heard a lot recently in French politics.
La dette. Et cette dette.
Sa dette.
La dette.
And today, France's Prime Minister François Bayrou, in the job since December of last year, is laying out his government's austerity measures to address the burden of debt. He is asking the National Assembly in a vote for their confidence in his plan and essentially his government, leading potentially to his own downfall later today. But for France, with a debt to GDP ratio of 113%, the regular approaches of taxing more, reducing spending or boosting growth are all at the centre of the debate. This weekend, at a cafe in the Loire Valley city of Tours, I asked the economist and academic Gilles Coleda about some of the reasons behind the country's burgeoning debt, triggered mostly by two crises also experienced by other Eurozone countries.
Two events have significantly increased the weight of the debt in France. The first event is the subprime crisis in 2008-2009, and the second event is the COVID-19 pandemic. Most of the other Eurozone countries managed to reduce their debt burden and decrease their deficit during the decade 2010. But the different French governments in place during this period did not do so because it is politically and socially difficult to cut public spending and to raise tax.
Prime Minister Bayrou will propose a raft of austerity measures, seen as fairly standard, Gilles Coleda told me, to reduce the debt burden by 44 billion euros. Among them are reducing thresholds for health expenditure reimbursements, a hiring freeze on certain public service posts, but also a so-called année blanche in 2026, a blank year where social benefits and pensions are to be frozen. Tax brackets would be adjusted, and an unpopular measure of removing 2 public holidays to boost production has been tabled. Other factors mean it's a difficult time to implement such measures. Gilles Coleda.
The context is not favorable, weak growth, high interest rates, and tension in global trade. So we need to repair the roof in the middle of the storm.
For some in business, the uncertainty and instability has led to frustration. Grégoire Audibert is the co-founder of Winter Mushroom, a software publisher offering marketing products to retail.
To be honest, I feel a bit tired of all the uncertainty caused by the politics. And for business, it's not so good, especially for small companies. And I'm afraid what is going to happen Monday is going to be the cherry on the cake. So I'm a bit afraid that we will have another period without a government.
But for some businesses, there was still a sense of wait and see. Jérôme Bonvin is the co-owner of a bar in Tours, and he told me it was too early to decide what the measures or the potential collapse of government would mean.
On est tous dans l'attente des annonces qui vont être faites là.
We're all waiting for the announcements that will be made in the coming days, and there will be inevitably financial impacts on business in terms of levies, notably for welfare, and we can't quite see where we're going right now. It's too soon to judge current measures, whether they will be kept, toughened, or softened.
Si les alourdissent, si les allègent.
So should I come back in a week?
Yes, we'll talk about it later.
On parle plus tard.
That report by Jamie Smith-Maillet, who joins us now live from France's Parliament, Paris's Assemblée Nationale. Jamie, thanks for being with us. Now, we heard Monsieur Bayrou earlier speaking about the problem of debt. What was his message, really, to MPs?
Yeah, well, it was clearly a message and address that lasted some 40 minutes here to the National Assembly, a lower legislative chamber in France, in a full house. And I should also say that I'm in the garden just now, pushed past a number of journalists, the full house there too, showing the significance of today's speech and vote. Essentially, a message that came from him was for parliamentarians to seek common sense and general responsibility. Bayrou started out by saying it was not a political decision, but a historical one that lay ahead. And he compared the country and the debt crisis to a sinking ship, and that change had to be brought about for future generations. He mentioned the challenges facing the economy, housing, the aging population, and said that the social model was on life support. So a call really to MPs for the country in the longer run to look to that and not and go above party politics. But as we've been hearing, the way things sit in Parliament, it looks like the vote is still not to fall in favour with him, and with the blocs on the far right and the left likely to vote against the confidence motion later today, leading Bayrou probably to his resignation.
So then, the obvious question, what happens next? Is there another Prime Minister in waiting?
Well, that is the question. That's what we're hearing there from businesses, this period of uncertainty, and it will be up to the President Macron to appoint someone. There are a few names being floated around, but if we look back to the previous periods, it may take some time for a Prime Minister to be chosen. And of course, there will be calls from parties, the bloc on the left, but also the far right, to look elsewhere for a Prime Minister, but also even calls for Macron to dissolve the National Assembly or for him to resign. Now, he has said at the moment in time he will do neither of these, and he'll be seeking potentially for a new Prime Minister.
Jamie, thanks for being with us there. Jamie Smith-Maillet live there from the French Parliament. Let's talk now to Charlotte de Montpellier,